Both those are pretty hot. I went back and forth. Did a little bit here, then went over there. You know, just trying not to kill off this bushing too much. This is pretty hot, but boy, looks pretty beefy. You know, at least I think it does. It has some weight to it. It's like, well, there goes my lightness. All right, let me finish up with the pedal box, and then we will. What I want to do is I want to trace what's the pedal box with the cardboard, and then we're going to start putting it, figuring out the plate that goes on there to take out all those extra holes. Yeah, so let me cool this down, and let me go get some cardboard and start tracing out the pedal box, and if I have time I'll weld out the pedal box, but I don't really need to right now. I just need the cardboard to figure it out. All right, let me get that stuff on. Roughly what it's going to be on size. Do I know exactly what size? No. What I have to do now, pull out the steering column, pull out the old pedal assembly, pull the fuel line out, stuff like that, and then take that, just the aluminum section. I don't have to put the pedal assembly back together in, just the aluminum section, put it in to see exactly where it's going to fit. Because it's 2 bolts, it'll give me a good indication of where it's going to be, because it will change slightly after I put everything in and weld it, but I want to put everything in, weld everything together while it's all bolted together, and then pull it out, assemble it, put everything back in. Hopefully it'll be okay. Yeah, that's kind of, I was sitting there looking at it going, I can do it with just this, and no. It's like I can't, you know, you can't cheat. You can't cheat, because what will happen is you're going to have to redo a bunch of stuff, so you don't want it that. All right, let me pull out that stuff, and let me throw that assembly back in. We'll see where it ends up. All right, this is hitting right here, so it's not going up, so I got a little bit more room going up. It's got to be really close. It's going to come right down here, and that's where it's going to feed into. It shouldn't be that bad, but now I know roughly where this is in relationship to where the cardboard's going to be. Now I can kind of figure out, all right, this is where it's got to be cut. This is how I'm going to be doing it. So first things first, let me figure out exactly where the template is in relationship to where the top is going to match into the top of the firewall. All right, let's just get this thing done. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, I have to admit that. Well, looks like now's a good time as any to start cutting. God. All right, here goes nothing. Here's the hole we have for the firewall. Yep. I kind of screwed up here. When I did this, I thought it was absolutely equal, but if you notice, it's down at an angle. I mean, it's not really bad, but as you can tell by my horrible welds, hopefully my welder that they're replacing, the welder the brand new welder that I bought, that shocked the living hell out of me, shows up real soon so I can re-weld it, because I won't weld in the actual other plates in there. I'm not going to use the plate this right here that I made for it, because two things, it doesn't have enough length to come up to here, and it doesn't have enough length to go over to the tower. So I'm just going to piece this meal in, like one plate right here goes all the way over here, one plate goes in, one plate goes here, and one plate goes here. It's just, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all it is. It's not going to be hard. It's just, I was hoping to make it like this, just because it would be cooler, but whatever. Other than that, the only other problem I see, now that I have it in the car, the big problem, well, not a big problem, but the only other problem is I'm going to be kind of limiting myself to master cylinders. I'm going to be using Tilton master cylinders. You're probably asking why Tilton? Because they're remote mounted. You can do it same thing with AP master cylinders, anything that has a top feed that you can basically tie into. Now this was that's the only real problem I basically have found myself in, the predicament that I found myself in, but it's not going to be that much of a predicament. I can even use an AP with a 45-degree angle fitting on it, and it'll go right in. But that's that's one of the things that happened because I had to have the master cylinders. The pedal had to work with them, and there couldn't be too much deflection, so I only had so much. And I have a steering rack right here, and as you can tell, I have, that's a half-inch clearance. That's all it is. I have very little clearance here, having this on this. So, yeah, that's about all I can say. But let me go. I'm going to start, if I can get pieces out of this, I can, but I'm going to have to go get the other one, measure it all up, just cut pieces, just piece them in there and tack them in. That's it. I'll cut them and tack them in, and we'll get this all squared away. It's not hard. I'm not going to weld the bottom or weld it fully yet. I just want to see how it goes in. All right, let me go grab some more metal, bring the cutter over there, and we'll start cutting it all up. Metal plate's done. As you can see, the aluminum plate from the pedal assembly. Well, I decided to cut a little bit to see if I could bend it just enough so I could get it, on the get it level, and it broke. And I don't have a welder. Yeah, my brand new fancy welder is, hopefully the new one they're sending me will get here soon. It was supposed to be here a little while ago, but yeah, this one, the welder that I have now, just seems to shock me and put me on the floor. Hello. But, all right, seeing how we don't have that, we got to change gears and keep going. That's the big thing. Let me show you our next thing because we have to go up to the other side. It's the air intake system. I have to completely redo it. It is what it is. But I'll show you the reason why, and it's serviceability. All right, let's go over here and let me show you what's going on with that. Here's the next thing we have to put in. You're probably saying, well, what is that? Well, this is the, the HVAC box, if you want to call it. What it is, this houses the heater core right here. And one thing is, I want to make this thing easy to get out. You're probably asking why? Because they fail. That's just what happens. They do fail. So if you have a place where this is set, I thought it was going to be down a lot lower than it is, and I thought I was going to be able to get underneath the air box that I put in there, but no, I screwed up. I don't have enough room. I got to pull that air box out and completely chop it up and redo it. It is what it is. But if I can get this thing in there, all set up to where I can easily pull out this heater core, plus put this in and pull this out without having to, take out the dashboard and all that, that's kind of where I want it to be. So first things first, let me pull the airbox out, and then, well, actually I got to mark where the airbox is. I'll show you because I actually got a stock air filter for it. We can mark where it's supposed to be, and then we can continue from there by trimming up that airbox as much as we can. That way, it'll all, hopefully everything will fit. Everything will just go in, out real easy. At least that's what my plan is. I don't know. Let's go to the front. Let me show you what I got for the air filter, and let's mark it, and how it's going to actually rest inside the car. This is the filter that I got, Molly LX54 stock filter. I pulled the plastic housing off of the metal assembly that I built. And when I put the filter in, I did not expect it to be this thick, because I've generally used K&N filters in all of my cars. And what it is that they're about half this size, and I cut this box a little too short. I think I have another one out there I might recut, but I don't know yet, because I'd like to have at least a centimeter, you know, almost a half an inch of, how can I put this, of basically sleeve onto that, so when I put it on it, it should be fine. I mean, I can get away with just, you know, putting a surround around it and all this other stuff. It shouldn't be that bad. But the first thing is, now I know that this box has to sit actually further down. All right, time to pull the pipe off. Just chop it. Basically, cut the box, cut it basically probably into a third of its original size, and slide it in. So I'm going to cut the pipe off and figure out exactly where it is. But first thing is, we got to redo this intake pipe also. This is what you get when you are experimenting. I should have put the heater controls in first. All right. Well, you live and learn. All right. Let me pull this out. Let me pull this off, and we'll get this thing going. All right, now that that dilemma's done, you change one thing, you got to change another. All right, well, this is, it's, how can I put it? I think it looks better, and I just tacked it in. I didn't do anything else. But what I got to do next is I have to clean up all of this stuff to get it ready to weld, so I can weld this bar in. I still haven't gotten my welder, my aluminum welder, or TIG, but that will be, as soon as I get that, I'm going to go right to the pedal box. But I got, now that this thing is all nice and, it's not welded in or anything like that. It'll come right out. But I can pull out my HVAC system right out. I can easily pull out the heater core, no problem. Change that if I need to. All readily accessible now. This is actually kind of the way I wanted to do it originally. Actually, I wanted to just, pretty much weld in all the plates all into the actual firewall, but I'd never get a good seal. So, and the thing is, I still have to go over it with seam sealer on the inside just to make sure it's all squared away. Got to weld up all this pipe. I put a new thing on here, so I just has an M6, zap it down, pull out. Still have to weld that. I'm almost thinking about doing the downpipe if I don't have my welder. But on the other side of this, other side of that, I got to start cleaning everything to weld it. To weld these plates to the chassis, to weld this bar to this plate right here. That way we can get it all squared away, everything is done, and when my welder comes in, I can weld up that and install the rest of that, because I might be cutting back further on the firewall into the cabin, just for ease of use. Not really sure right yet, but I will let you know when I get there, because I will let you know when I know, because I don't know. All right, let me start pulling this stuff off, taking this out, getting the grinder. Just have to grind all that stuff clean, and then start making plates for this to go down to the chassis. I can bring this thing up inside. It'll all look nice. Then put the tie-ins right here. It's getting there. Boy, long road. All right, let me pull that off, and let's just get this going. Well, it's time for a command decision. Let me show you what my thought process on this was. I want to have the availability of numerous master cylinders or aftermarket master cylinders for this car. And the way I had the master cylinders set up before, it was at such an angle where I could not use the reservoirs right here. At least I wouldn't trust it. What I need to do is I notched to the bottom of this and brought it down and took it off the assembly. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this plate out. Now, why am I going to cut this out? Because the top portion and the bottom portion were connected right here, if you remember, if you saw that video. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut away the tacks right here, slice this out so I can see everything down there. And I can line all the rods up, I can make sure it's all equal, use the TIG welder, and TIG the top portion of the pedal assembly so I can just pull it right out, weld the rest of it really good, put it back in and take this section right here, which I already had to weld here and here anyway, bring it down, make a slope so it goes right there, then box in the rest of it. I think that's going to work. I don't know, but we might as well try. So, all right, let me get my other stuff on, and the best time to, like I always said, the first cut. But you know what? We're going to have to weld this in anyway, so I might as well just cut the tacks and just see what's there. Doesn't hurt. here's the pedal assembly, all welded up, pretty strong. And I still have to, carve this out a little bit. But sitting here thinking about this, take a look at what we have. We actually have a kind of an opportunity here. The way the factory did their power assisted rack and pinion is their power assist system is right here. Now, there's one nut right there, and there's another, or banjo bolt right there. And what it is they had a special grommet that goes in here that always broke. Well, I'm kind of want to do what Ford's did. Let me show you, let me take this off and let me show you what I'm planning on doing, because this thing, is actually going to be up like that, because this thing actually curved down a little bit. That's about equal, so it gives us a little bit, but I'm thinking about closing this all up and using more of a conventional seal for it, and on top of that, being able to get at this banjo bolt right here from the engine bay, not having to go into the car. Let me pull this thing off. Let me show you what I'm thinking about doing. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do a couple things. First thing, I want to be able to get this bolt off, and I want to be able to seal up this with just a seal that we can actually just make if we need, if we're in a pinch. But what I'm going to use is this. This is half of a brake booster. I believe it's a Ford, but it could be an early Volkswagen. Not really sure, but what I want to do is have this section right here. There's a lip. I can just put a soft seal around here, push it onto this, and it should seal it right up. The reason why I'm using this is because this diameter is the same as this diameter. It's roughly 40 millimeters. And also, it gives me enough metal because there's a grommet here and a grommet here. I got to punch that out. I got to fill that up. I got to fill this one up, and hopefully I have enough metal I can expand it over. I got to fill in these holes or everything, but if that's all in and this is up and down, that way when I undo the rack, the two bolts there and the two bolts on the side, it should pop right out without messing up anything. It should go right out, because seeing how this is more into the cabin, it should give us more room. If it doesn't, then it's my fault. But I'm going to try it anyway, just so I can get rid of all of this right here, and actually get a wrench onto this banjo bolt right there. So let me get my stuff back on, start cutting this out. Hopefully we can make this work. If it doesn't work, well, we'll have to do something else. Here we go. First things first. About 4 millimeters of plate, 2 millimeters on each side, all the way around if you put it in the center. You can put a foam ring right in here. It'll seal it. Nothing will come through. This is flush with the top of this right here. This is flush. So the coupler, when it goes in, will not affect it. It'll be fine. Now, when I pull the rack out, that's when I'm going to cut all of this section right here. I'm then going to turn it right back around and box it into here 90 degrees to create a full box, because the bolt is on the further side. This will open up. Once I cut this out, there'll be so much room to get a wrench in there to pull this off. I am ecstatic how this is going to work. Now what I got to do is trim this all down to fit the master cylinder plate to it. So let me pull this out, clean it up. We'll fit the master cylinder plate to it by putting everything back together again, put it in, tack it in, and then we can build the sides and have the downward portion right here to the top of that plate. I love junk. Well, I cleaned up that brake booster. It's gonna go right here. I basically just, when I was cleaning it up, I just gave it a little chop right there just to estimate where I think it's going to all land. I don't know, but I have a feeling it's gonna go right about here. right about like that. Now, let me, it's going to be, you know, because then it's going to be trimmed right here. So we have plenty of room to get the wrench in when we get that out. I did, one of the things you're going to run into is you're going to start thinking about other things to say, how is this going to not suit my needs? This right here, I looked at the steering rack. The steering rack comes out about at least almost 1.5 inches on the other side. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to reverse this. I am going to push a bushing in here. So when you take out the bolts, the bushing will come out. Will give you plenty of play to bring this out because I don't think I have enough room down here. But I don't know yet until I pull it out, until I weld it and pull it out. I have no idea. But that will let you know in the back of my mind, this section right here, I can do, you know, there's two things, or not two things, there's one thing that'll accomplish two things. One thing will be reversing this out, putting a bushing in there. The bushing will protect the end of the steering rack from rocks. That's what will happen, and it'll ease movement out. So you just have two bolts, you pull the bushing out, which is protecting the back of the steering rack, then it gives you a huge oval hole just to pull straight out, and there we go. All right, let me put this back in and see if it works. Here is the pedal assembly. The two main studs, that are original, all the way back, so we know these pedals will be exactly where they're supposed to be, as in facing the driver, they're not offset. The front portion of the firewall, the new firewall, right here, and this portion right there, the brake booster, is all set up to where I can plate it down, you know, pull it back and weld it in. I can also move this forward like this. The only problem is I'm covering the banjo bolt that I need to get out quickly. So it has to be all the way back and down. I'm going to tighten those screws up, but first thing is over here I need to take off 3/4 of an inch. I got to cut it right to the edge of the master cylinder. No more, because of this, the throttle cable. I know that if I go straight down here, if I can go a little bit in, you know, I have 1/2 inch here. If I go like 1/4 inch in, I know I can weld it to the side of here if this is all set up. I think it's looking pretty good, even though it looks like a disaster right now. First things first, I got to clean this all up, clean up all that area, and we'll trim this out. Then we can start tightening everything up and just start tacking things in and just pull everything apart and just tack it into the point where it's not going anywhere. That's the big thing. All right, let me get my other gear and my grinding wheel, and I'll pull that out. Let's just get to it. Here, this is where the brake boost is going to go. I gotta, you know, I'm only going to tack this because I need to build the support bushing on the other side of the rack so it comes straight out. But you have the other hole for the master cylinder that's right here. I am going to weld a nut in behind here, and that's going to be the last attachment point for the false floor, so it hides all the fuel lines and stuff like that. And the fuel line is going to go up this side, out there. I have a much better, you know, feeling for it. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to, you know, one tack here and it should be good. I'll weld the bolt in after I pull the steering rack out. This thing, I have to set exactly where it's going to go. You know, this is tight, but this whole section right here is moving up and down. And wherever it looks the best is where it's going to be, because this bottom plate right here, from the firewall plate to this plate, it's going to have to be done without the steering rack in here. That's it, you know. But if it's all squared away and I can have this thing all set up, I think it's going to be really good. All right, let me go get the welder, and we're going to start. I got to build this plate over here, which is going to be really quick, and then I'm going to start tacking things in, because I got to match cut this thing. And yeah, I think it looks kind of cool. Oh, another thing. Take a look at this. This right here, somebody welded a bolt on it onto the front A-pillar leg of the roll cage on the previous car that this was in. What this is for grounds, I believe, because that's usually the only time you weld a M6 nut to a roll cage tubing. Don't ever do this, especially here. And you're probably wondering why. It won't good ground. No, it's a great ground, fantastic ground. No, but if you roll the car over and your legs are flinging around, there's a good chance your leg is going to get punctured by this bolt. At least move it up to here. Just before I cut this off, I just wanted to let you know, don't put it down here. Put it up here. You know, you can put it right here if it stands straight up and down. You're not going to hit it. But right there is not a good thing. Just a helpful safety tip. And yep, I use every ounce of my flap wheel. All right, let me get that other plate built, then I'm going to start tacking this all in. Well, now is the time that I am just going to go into straight welding mode and end this episode. What I want to do is I want to put in the strut tie bar. I've welded up all the plates all the way around. And what I'm going to do is weld in all these bars. I was going to put a plate right here, a dispersion plate, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, I don't really need it. You know, it's like, yeah, screw it. There's plenty of it's not like it's a really, you know, directly on it. It's just, this thing is at an angle, so there's a ton of area around. So I can do this. I can get the wrench in there to do the master cylinders, no problem. Get the other wrench in there. Pretty happy with it. Then I'm gonna weld all of this stuff in just so it's done. That's it. And I'm gonna weld the other. I gotta clean up the other bars, weld up all the other stuff, and get this, you know, put it down to the cage and over to the cage there. I think it's going to look cool, you know. Yeah, let me get this thing done. A good work. It was good, you know. Geez, what did we do? Wow, we got a whole bunch of stuff done, you know. And one of them was this pipe right here, you know, the intake pipe. Pretty happy about this, you know. Try to put this thing on here. Oh, where did it go? There we go. Like that. And it fits a lot better now. We got the strut tie bar. You're probably wondering why I put this seal plate in here, you know, because generally the seal sits here and rests against the hood and doesn't allow stuff in there, but with that open exposed pedal box in there, it doesn't really, it kind of defeats the purpose. But what does this thing have? VIN numbers. It's like, yay! So we can register it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I have an idea what I'm going to do with the steering rack. I think you guys are going to like it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it next time or the time after, but it'll probably be next time because when it's on the lift, it's just so much simpler. And after I test the suspension, that's why I have to keep the rack on there. Test the suspension, make sure the CV joints all work, and that's, yeah, and then we'll go from there. So, geez, a lot of work here. There's a lot of work here. But none of this is hard. Just some hillbilly out here in New Hampshire working on these Audi tractors. It's like, what did Malcolm Wilson call them? Agricultural, the Audis. But which is, he's right. He's right. You know, and they're a wonder. They're a wonder, all right. And so remember, I'm nothing special. You can do this. You can put your mind. You can do this. You know, take my ideas and make them better. That's what I'd like to say. All right, well, thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Bye now.